Hello everyone, it's Shel from Paper Octio Studio, and today I'm sharing with you my traveling art journal page. Remember, this is a year-long project with the Canvas Corp brand's creative crew, which I'm a member of. And each month I do a art journal page in an art journal that arrives in the mail, and then I send it on to someone else in the crew, and they do a page in that journal the next month and send it on, and so on and so forth. So by the end of the year, we will all receive our original journals back with everyone else's art in it. So it's a fun project, and you can follow along at the beginning of each month. It's posted on the blog at Canvas Corp Brands, and I will put a link in the description box below to the blog post. So I'm using some papers that I had. Canvas Corp Brands has scrap packs of bits and bobs, and I collected some of these different papers, which I will put links below to all the different papers I used. But I just have pieces and parts of them because they came in a scrap pack. And so I mix and matched a couple different collections. I've got some from Beans and Bags and some from Farmhouse Kitchen, and I've got ivory with black print and black with ivory print, and I'm just using them to create this page about a summer crawfish boil, which, you know, it's summer, and this is something that my in-law family does in Mississippi. And it's always fun, an outside thing where you have a big pot over either, you know, like on a gas grill or over a fire, and you just make this big pot of food. And all these papers seem to say food and kitchen and stuff like that. The little creature that I put in the pot, however, is obviously a lobster, but crawfish look a lot like lobsters if you've never seen them. They're just teeny tiny, like maybe 3-inch long lobsters basically that live in the river instead of in the ocean. So I cut out different pieces. I put different papers in different areas, looking around for different things to do. And then I decided that the colors that I wanted on my page were going to be the warm reds and oranges and those type of colors that are indicative of what crawfish look like when they're cooked, as well as summer, these warm colors of summer. So I had gessoed the art journal pages with some white gesso, and now I'm using some baseboard mists. These are the Tattered Angels mists that are a opaque or semi-opaque flat spray. They don't have any shimmer in them. A lot of the Tattered Angels mist that you see out there are the shimmery ones with the mica, and they have tons of those, tons. But I actually prefer these more dull ones, the ones that are almost kind of like a chalky finish. I like these a lot, so I use them quite a bit. So I sprayed them on my page and then set that aside to dry. And now I'm spraying the same colors on my little crawfish, and then this paper bag that comes from Canvas Corp brand, you can, you know, get them in a pack of these little cute bags that you could use for all kinds of things, and I wanted it to match, so I went ahead and sprayed, and then I'm splattering with a little bit of the black and the different colors. It's so easy to spray with, to splatter with mist, because you just take the top off and you just use that little plastic thing on the inside and you just flick it and it splatters really nicely. So if you like splatters, mists are a good choice. So once all my elements were colored, then I decided to do something about these two bigger pieces, and I had some Simply Sheer, which is a completely translucent, very sheer color, and I wanted to just add a little bit of that. You know, spoons, they're silver, but silver sometimes kind of looks like blue, like the shadows of it kind of look blue, and I just wanted it to have more dimension. I wanted these spoons to have more dimension, so I'm just using a small round brush, and I've poured some of that mist into my little well of one of my palettes, and I'm just using a brush to apply it to the paper. Um, because of all this white, I seem to be having a whole bunch of glare on my video, so you can't really see what it does, but you will be able to see it in the close-ups at the end of the video. I also added some to my little salt and pepper shakers and this other thing that I'm using as a pot. I think it's actually a flour sifter, but it looks enough like a pot that I thought it would be suitable. Of course, in a big pot, the crawfish would be small, but you know, this is a fun, whimsical take on the whole thing. So here I'm using a black ink pad going around the edges of the paper, and then I realized later, and you'll see me do this, I can use the plastic straw on the inside of the coal black to do exactly the same thing. So I really didn't even need that ink pad. It's just I'm so used to using it that I went ahead and used it. I also have this little recipe card, a tiny little recipe card that fits perfectly in that plastic, what am I talking about? That paper bag. It fits perfectly in there. So I wrote the ingredients on one side and the directions on the other side of how you would do a crawfish boil. And that will be tucked down in that little bag, and it can be removable so the person who owns the journal can take it out, look at it, put it back in. It won't be stuck down or anything. So then I'm adding some more splatters to my two background papers just to make them, you know, coordinate a little bit better. Here's where I figure out that I could do the black edging with the coal black straw, and it actually works really better than the ink pad for that, for going around the edges of that oddly shaped tag. Everything here is from Canvas Corp brand, so that tag and the lobster tag and all of it is you know, things from them. So now it's time to assemble. And because I'm gluing this cardstock onto a page that has a water soluble, you know, the mists, they're water soluble. They're not permanent. If I was to put something wet over them, it would just smear. And I liked the way the background looked, so I decided not to use a matte medium to attach everything. So I decided just to use plain old tacky glue. It's just a PVA glue. For those of you who don't live in the United States, it's PVA glue. And it works on these cardstock pieces to glue them down because it's a heavy enough glue that it will make them stick to that sprayed background. Normally I would have put a thick matte medium and I would have, you know, put it over the top and got everything sealed in, but I just didn't want to smear all that mist that I'd sprayed on there, and it would have just smeared like crazy. So just using tacky glue for the whole thing. I'm going to glue all the elements on there with the tacky glue. The little paper bag, and that's where the recipe card tucks into. And then I had cut out a couple of the words as well from the black with the ivory printing paper. And it says, one of them says just a taste and the other one says fresh. That's the same paper that I cut the little pot out of and the little salt and pepper shaker out of. It just has a lot of different images of foodie like type things. I added a piece of the jute twine and then also a little scrap of a gingham checked red and white ribbon onto my tag to add a little bit of interest. And I picked the red and white gingham one because it reminded me of tablecloths that you put on the picnic table outside when you're having a barbecue or a crawfish boil or whatever you're having, a low country boil. So that's why I picked, instead of a solid red, I picked the gingham because I thought it was perfect for that. Looks like a checked picnic tablecloth. So I'm attaching my little crawfish coming out of the pot and the just a taste. I decided that once I had that on there, it was too black and white, and so I ended up adding some of the fire colored mist to it as well, just to create balance. I used the Simply Sheer, that baby blue color again, to add some shadows around that word and, well, that phrase, I guess it is, and around my pot and crawfish, just to blend it in a little bit more to the page. Works pretty well as a shadow color. And here's where I add some red to the words because it was too black and white. It needed something, it needed some zhuzh. As you're going through doing this type of a process, you just kind of see what needs to be done as you're doing it. You might have a kind of a plan, like I laid it out at the beginning, but then realize that something else needs to be added, like that. In fact, after I'd already turned the camera off, I added some white lines around that word fresh, and also I wrote with a pen on there, and I wrote crawfish boil. So you won't see me actually do those two things because I did them after the camera was off because you're still wondering, okay, what else does it need? So I'm adding some white dots and lines just to highlight the words again, to bring them back to the forefront, and then also adding some white highlights with my Posca pen to the little crawfish and pot. And then I decide the whole thing needs black line around it. And so I just use a pen for that with a ruler because it's easiest. Black Posca pen. Frames everything in, brings the black colors that I used in the layout to, together with everything, and adding that additional black line just really makes a big difference for me. So I hope you've enjoyed this. Be sure to go check out everyone else's pages for this month. And I will put the links to all the products I used and the link to the blog post below in the description box. And that's it for me. Thanks. Bye-bye. Oh yeah, and don't forget thumbs up, comment, subscribe, share, all those things too.